You're tuned in to Sinister Shadows, where forgotten broadcasts resurface, strange signals bleed through the static, and the stories don't always stay fiction. If you found this channel, it's not by accident. Something brought you here. So settle in, stay quiet, and listen closely. What you're about to hear might sound like a story, but some shadows speak the truth. I swore I wouldn't come back. After the last night shift at Monster Nightcare, babysitting spawn that shoot acid spit, change shapes mid-story time, or scream in frequencies that melt glass, I turned in my name badge, threw holy water on the break room fridge, and walked away. Clean. Free. Traumatized, but mostly intact. Then gas prices hit $6 a gallon. So here I am again. Same front desk. Same haunted owl perched on the coat rack, staring directly into my soul. Same welcome mat that whispers, "Run," if you step on it wrong. Monster Nightcare had rebranded. A glossy new logo on the glass door said, "Monster Nightcare, After Dark, now 20% more containment protocols." Beneath that, a handwritten note duct-taped on. "One of the kids bit the moon. Do not mention this." I stared at it. Then I opened the door. Immediately, the scent of burnt glitter and raw meat hit me in the face. Yep, same place. Except now there were new rules posted on the wall in fresh red ink. Nightcare reorientation. Staff rules. Memorize or perish. If the moon looks closer than usual, stay indoors. If Kevin offers you a crayon, do not draw with it. Do not feed anything after 2:13 a.m., including yourself. If you hear giggling in the vents, ignore it. That's just the backup kid. The mop is not for cleaning anymore. Treat it with respect. Never mention the moon bite. The others will remember. Rule 5 gave me whiplash. The mop? I remember that beat-up thing from last time. It saved my ass once by tripping a rampaging Hydra toddler. Guess it's ascended or something now. A voice echoed from the playroom, deep and polite, and slightly unhinged. "Ah, our brave mortal returns." Director Gribble slithered out. His tentacles were polished, his tie crooked, and his eyes looked like a YouTube buffering wheel. He offered a hand. It was gloved. I didn't ask why. "Welcome back," he beamed. "We've expanded." He wasn't kidding. The main playroom had doubled in size. They'd added a shadow sandbox, a volcanic nap pod, and what appeared to be a jungle gym made entirely out of teeth. "Enrollment's booming," Gribble said. "Cryptids, half-demons, even a baby weather god. That one throws lightning if you call him Buddy." I blinked. "You said expanded, like space-wise or staff-wise?" He twitched. "Both, but mostly downward." I followed his gaze toward a suspicious metal trapdoor near the snack cubbies. It had about 13 locks and a weird pulse coming from it. "Oh, that's level B," he said casually. "Strictly off limits. You'll never need to worry about it, unless the moon thing escalates." I paused. The note on the door. "Someone bit the moon?" Gribble went still. Every child in the room, including the headless one playing Uno, stopped moving. Gribble's voice dropped to a whisper. "We don't say those words here." A small girl with eyes like black holes turned her head 180 degrees and said, "He said it. He knows." Then a light flickered and all the kids started humming the same eerie lullaby in perfect harmony. Gribble clapped once, sharply. Everything stopped. "Break room's been upgraded," he said, chipper again. "Now with 3 Keurig options and a summoning circle. You'll love it." As I signed back in at the front desk, a few of the regulars waved. Florp, the gelatinous boy who smells like rain. Stacy, the vampire toddler who runs a crypto scam on the dark web. And Kevin. Kevin just stood there holding out a crayon. It was red, like too red. "I drew something," he said. I stared at the crayon. It hummed. "Not today, Kev," I said, backing away slowly. "New year, new boundaries." He smiled. Too many teeth. I did my first night round just after 11 p.m. Everything seemed fine, until I saw the moon. It was low, too low, and glowing a faint, unnatural purple. And there, clear as day, was a bite mark on the edge. Not a metaphorical bite, a literal chomp, like someone had taken a cosmic nibble. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. If the bite reopens, level B will rise. And then, Kevin's drawing again. I turned around. Kevin was sitting in the hallway, sketching in that red crayon. On the wall. The drawing looked like the trap door, and it was opening. I sprinted down the hallway with Kevin's red crayon drawing pulsing behind me like it had a heartbeat. Not a metaphorical one either. I mean, it literally thumped against the wall like a migraine with teeth. Kevin, being Kevin, just kept coloring. He didn't look up, didn't blink, just whispered, "It's almost ready," over and over like a possessed Bob Ross. I rounded the corner toward the front desk, nearly colliding with the mop. It was propped upright in the middle of the hallway, handle resting against the cracked tile, bristles glowing faintly green. It turned to face me. I froze. "Hey, mop buddy. I remember what you did for me last time. No hard feelings. I respect your promotion. Please don't sweep me into the abyss." It didn't move. Until it did. The mop tilted, spun once, and pointed directly toward the trapdoor. Then it fell limp again. "Cool. Guess I'm going that way," I muttered. The hallway lights flickered as I approached the trapdoor. The hum from Kevin's wall mural grew louder, vibrating through the floor. Somewhere behind me, one of the kids screamed. Not scared, more like excited. Gribble met me at the trapdoor holding a walkie-talkie and a tube of sunscreen. "I assume you've seen it," he said without looking up. "The moon or the bite?" "Both," he said, pressing the sunscreen into my hand. "Put this on. It's not for UV. It's for them." "Them?" He opened the trapdoor. A spiral staircase led downward into black fog and the distinct smell of corn syrup, burnt bone, and Chuck E. Cheese. "This is level B," he said grimly. "We call it the play below." The temperature dropped 10 degrees. My breath fogged up. The sunscreen in my hand squirmed like a living thing. Gribble continued. "Kevin has been opening things. He's what we call a Category Omega crayon bearer." That sounds made up. It is, but unfortunately, so is Kevin. He handed me the walkie. "Go down, assess the damage, and if you see any kids that look upside down, don't acknowledge them. Just turn your shirt inside out and scream. That's the countermeasure." I stared at him. "Why me?" He shrugged. "Because you came back." Fair. I took 2 steps into level B before regretting every decision I'd ever made, including eating expired Lunchables and downloading that cursed podcast about haunted Lego bricks. The staircase ended in a massive cavern lit by jellyfish floating in the air. There were toys everywhere. Twisted, mutated versions of normal ones. Dolls with claws. Teddy bears with extra mouths. A rocking horse made entirely of hair. And in the center of it all, a perfect circle, drawn in crayon. Kevin's. Inside the circle was a single moon rock. It was steaming, pulsing, leaking, like someone had dragged it through too many dimensions without a permission slip. A girl in a tattered tiara hovered above the rock, slowly rotating like she was being microwaved. "Oh no," I whispered. The tiara girl opened her eyes. They glowed. "You're not Kevin," she said. "Nope, definitely not." She floated downward, smile widening. "Are you the moon's lawyer?" "What?" Before I could ask anything else, something huge stirred behind the toy mountain. I saw fingers, not connected to anything, just 5 kid-sized fingers dragging themselves like inchworms through the foam mat floor. I turned to run, only to find Kevin standing right behind me. He held the red crayon up like Excalibur. "I drew her," he said proudly. "Her name's Princess Bitey. She wants her piece back." I backed away slowly. Her piece of what? He pointed at the sky, or where the sky would have been if we weren't underground. The moon. She's hungry again. A tremor shook the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. The mop, which I had stupidly brought with me like a good luck charm, started glowing again, this time with purple fire. Kevin gasped. The chosen mop. I looked at the mop, then back at him. Excuse me? It's prophesied, he whispered, eyes wide. When the bite bleeds and the moon weeps, the mop of balance shall rise. Another tremor. The moon rock cracked open. Inside was a glowing set of baby teeth. Princess Bitey shrieked with joy. Kevin screamed, but it sounded like giggling. It's happening! Suddenly, the mop yanked itself from my grip, spun through the air like a javelin, and slapped the moon rock in half. Everything went silent. Even the floating jellyfish stopped. Princess Bitey stared down at the shattered rock, then at the mop, then at me. She looked heartbroken. You brought the traitor tool, she whispered. And then she exploded into 1,000 candy wrappers and raw static. Kevin clapped. I love story time, he said. I climbed back up the stairs with a crayon burn on my arm, Kevin in tow, and the mop silently dragging itself behind me like it needed a smoke break. Gribble met us at the top. Report? Level B is technically sanitized. He nodded solemnly. And the moon? Still bitten, still bleeding, but quiet. For now, Kevin whispered. The hallway lights dimmed again, and something giggled in the vents. The next night started with a bang, literally. One of the kids tried to blow up the juice fridge with a juice box. Kevin said it was an experiment in moon juice theory. He claimed Capri Sun tasted more powerful since the bite. I didn't know what that meant, but the fridge was now humming in Latin and glowing blue. Director Gribble just sighed, stuck a sticky note on it that read, "Do not offer sacrifices," and moved on. Business as usual. After the Level B incident, Nightcare had entered what Gribble called a mild lunar sensitivity phase. Translation: everything was now locked up tighter than a vampire's diary. New safety upgrades included demon-proof locks on the snack cabinets, salt lines around the timeout chair, and most importantly, no more show and tell. Apparently, someone brought a souvenir back from Level B last time. That someone's name rhymes with Revan. He's short, sharp-toothed, and thinks red crayons are sacred. Kevin stood by the playroom entrance holding something in a velvet sack. Guess what I brought? He beamed. I backed away. Not a moon shard, right? He blinked innocently. Not anymore, I called Gribble. The moment the sack hit the floor, the lights flickered and the room temperature dropped 30 degrees. From inside the velvet, something growled. That's when Kevin whispered, I named it Mr. Suckle. Everyone froze. Gribble materialized beside me, visibly pale, which was impressive for a creature that bleeds black ink. Where did he get that? He asked. I was told we don't do show and tell anymore, I said. Not unless it's supervised, Gribble muttered. And not if it involves moon-adjacent entities. The sack twitched. A sticky tentacle unfurled from the opening and dragged itself across the floor like a curious eel. I think it's teething, Kevin said. Where's the mop? I asked. Gribble looked around frantically. Oh no, not again. We found the mop in the closet, plugged into the wall like it was charging. It had a glowing ring around its base, and someone had tied a tiny red cape to it. It was vibrating slightly, as if preparing for combat. Kevin peeked into the closet. It's leveling up. I yanked the mop free. It made a grumpy squeak. We've got a Mr. Suckle problem, I told it. Care to assist? The mop quivered, then nodded. I had no idea how or why I understood a mop's emotional language now, but I chalked it up to stress-induced brain damage and moved on. Back in the playroom, Mr. Suckle had grown. He now resembled a toddler-sized jelly bean made of shadow and teeth. It cooed. The cooing shattered a window. Kevin clapped. He likes music. No, I snapped. He likes destruction. One of the kids, a fireproof lizard boy named Blaze, approached the creature with a juice box. "Want a sip?" Blaze asked. Mr. Suckle vibrated. Gribble screamed, "No juice after midnight!" Too late. Mr. Suckle drank it, and multiplied. Tiny versions of him popped out like gremlins from a haunted piñata. They scattered across the room, licking walls, biting beanbags, and attempting to nest inside the vending machine. I looked to the mop. It leapt from my hands. Whipping side to side like a possessed janitor sword, the mop began smacking Suckle spawn left and right, sweeping them into a glowing sigil carved into the floor. The kids cheered. Kevin bowed. Gribble muttered something about insurance premiums and vanished in a cloud of lemon-scented fog. 10 minutes later, the mop stood victorious. The playroom was quiet again, except for one last Suckle baby chewing on a plastic dinosaur. It looked up at me, burped glitter, and slithered into Kevin's backpack. He zipped it shut and smiled. "He's going on a field trip." "No," I said. "Yes," he said. "No." "Yes times infinity," Kevin smirked, walking off toward the nap pods. I turned to Gribble. "We need to ban backpacks." "Too late," he sighed, holding up a memo that had just been printed from the haunted fax machine. It read, "Field trip permission slips have been approved for Friday. Destination, the moon." I stared at it. "That's a joke, right?" Gribble just blinked. "Monster Nightcare has a shuttle now." I choked. "We're taking them to the actual moon?" Kevin peeked around the corner and whispered, "We're going back for seconds." That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the break room, watching the sky through the cracked ceiling. The moon was lower again, closer, still bitten, still twitching, and in the glow of its cratered surface, I swear I saw tiny red crayon scribbles forming a face. A child's face. Smiling. Hungry. I walked into work and found the entire daycare in spacesuits. Well, monster spacesuits. One was made of bone. One was just a bubble of goo with stickers on it. And Kevin was wearing a helmet made from what looked like a haunted jack-o'-lantern, with duct tape where the visor should have been. Director Gribble handed me a clipboard. "You're a chaperone," he said. "I didn't sign up for this." He pointed to my signature at the bottom of the form. "I agree to lunar exposure and moderate gravity-related haunting." That's not my handwriting. It is now. Behind him, the shuttle waited. A repurposed school bus, painted black, floating 3 feet above the parking lot, hissing steam and covered in runes that pulsed with hungry red light. A decal on the side read, "Field Trip, Monster Nightcare, Lunar Excursion 2025. "Is it safe?" I asked. Gribble nodded. "It passed inspection." "Whose inspection?" "The moon's." Kevin waved from the bus window. He was holding Mr. Suckle in a jar filled with some kind of ectoplasm and what looked like a tiny astronaut helmet. This was already a disaster. The moment we boarded, the mop joined us. It strapped itself in next to the emergency hatch and refused to make eye contact. It wore a little name tag now that said, "Security. Fine by me." The shuttle lifted off with the sound of distant children screaming in reverse. The windows fogged, gravity folded in half, and every kid cheered like they were headed to Disneyland instead of a celestial nightmare. As we approached the moon, I noticed something off. It was pulsing, breathing, and it had teeth. Massive, crater-sized ones, barely visible from Earth. But from here, you couldn't miss them. The bite mark had become a wound, and it was leaking moonlight like blood. Kevin pressed his face against the glass. "She's still hungry." "Who?" I asked, terrified I already knew the answer. He smiled. "Princess Bitey's twin." We landed in what Gribble referred to as the acceptable zone. The air was thick, not with oxygen, but with expectation. The moment we stepped out, the moon whispered. Not in words. More like dreams bleeding into your ears. One of the kids, a werepoodle named Muffin, immediately began digging in the dust and pulled out a spoon. "I found treasure!" she yelled. Gribble snatched it and screamed, No, that's a lunar egg beater. Too late. It hatched. Something tiny, silver and vengeful flew off toward the horizon, trailing static and baking powder. Just a minor breach, Gribble said, scribbling on his clipboard. No one report that. Meanwhile, Kevin was busy drawing in the regolith with his red crayon again, carving massive symbols into the moon's surface. Are you making a portal? I asked. He shook his head. The mop began vibrating. I turned to it. You feel that? It tilted toward Kevin's drawing and shivered. Then the ground cracked. One of the craters, the bitten one, began to glow and rise. Because it wasn't a crater, it was an eye. Gribble screamed, "Back on the bus!" But it was too late. The moon was waking up. Its voice hit all of us at once, deep, rattling, ancient. Who has touched my wound? Kevin raised his hand. Me! Mr. Suckle screamed in his jar and burst into flames. Kevin looked mildly annoyed and pulled out a second jar with a smaller, weirder version. Back up. The moon's eye blinked. Thunder echoed through the stars. You, it said, are not done. Kevin just grinned. She's almost here. A second shape loomed on the horizon. Not a spaceship, not a monster, a child, but one the size of a mountain. She stepped across the craters like hopscotch and waved. Hi, Kevin! I nearly threw up. Who is that? I croaked. Kevin whispered, That's Princess Gums. She bites softer, but she never lets go. The mop levitated from the bus and spun midair like a helicopter blade. It began carving a sigil into the moon's surface by itself, blasting crayon lines out of pure mop light. Gribble gasped. It's summoning the cleanser. What's that? He looked at me with hollow eyes. A cosmic janitor. It resets things. Kevin frowned. But I worked so hard on the teeth. Too late. The sigil activated. A beam of pure, sizzling light shot into the sky, and a new shape descended. Massive, glowing, wielding a vacuum the size of a battleship. The cleanser had arrived. Kevin folded his arms. Buzzkill. The cleanser hovered over the moon, opened a single glowing eye, and said one word. Messy. It hit the crater with a pulse of cleansing light. Princess Gum screamed, Kevin shrieked. Mr. Suckle exploded again. The kids cried. The mop twirled in satisfaction. And I curled up inside the emergency exit hatch and whispered to myself, Next time, I'm working fast food. When we returned, the moon was dull, quiet, clean, too clean. Back at Nightcare, Kevin sulked into the corner, red crayon snapped in half. I'll draw something better next time, he muttered. Gribble just stared at the sky. The bite was gone, but the hunger, still there, waiting. And the mop? It wheeled itself into the shadows. Its job wasn't done yet. After the moon incident, or the cleansing as Gribble labeled it in our internal disaster logs, things got quiet, which in Monster Nightcare terms means everyone was silently doing something very, very wrong. Nap time rolled around at 3:13 a.m. Normally, this is when the kids transform into their sleep forms. Less claws, more drool, and pass out in their pods. But tonight, nobody was snoring. Nobody was twitching. Every single pod was closed, sealed tight, silent, except one. Kevin's. He wasn't in it. Instead, inside his pod was a drawing. Done in red crayon, of course. It showed the daycare building, covered in tentacles, and something beneath it. A massive coiled shape labeled Mother. Underneath, Kevin had written, She never left. She was just dreaming. I crumpled the drawing and immediately felt nauseous. It reformed itself in my pocket. Of course it did. I found Kevin in the nap room closet, wearing a crown made of string cheese and chanting over a pile of stacked beanbags shaped like a throne. Your Majesty, I said, you want to explain what this is before I have an aneurysm? He didn't look up. I've been negotiating. With who? The Deep One, he said. She's cranky. I took a slow step backward. Do we need the mop? He looked hurt. This is a peaceful meeting. Then one of the beanbags blinked. Gribble appeared behind me holding a flashlight and a silver pacifier. Is it happening? What is it? I asked. He sighed. There's an entity trapped beneath the daycare. Codename, the Sleeper. Category. We used to call her Linda. Why does she have a name? She was an employee once. Ate the moon's cousin. We had to demote her. He handed me the pacifier. If she wakes up, shove this in her mouth and pray. I turned to Kevin. What did you promise her? He shrugged. Just snack time. A body. Maybe the bus. You promised her the shuttle bus? She likes wheels. The beanbags began to rise. The floor bubbled. From the cracks emerged a face. Not a monster face. A mom face. You know the look. A mix of exhaustion, disappointment, and I can't believe you put a grilled cheese in the VCR. Her eyes locked onto mine. Who canceled nap time? I tried to speak. The pacifier melted in my hand. Gribble screamed, Get the mop! The mop, already waiting outside the door like a knight with perfect timing, rolled in and burst into flame. Kevin gasped. The final form! The mop spun once, leapt into the air, and smacked the floor. The sleeper was not pleased. She rose, all the nap pods flew open. The kids floated mid-air, eyes glowing red, arms outstretched like a creepy choir. They chanted, We are not tired. Kevin grinned. She's here. Gribble threw a salt bomb. It exploded into confetti. The sleeper let out a low, guttural mom growl. If you won't nap, she bellowed, then I shall. And with a deafening yawn, she opened her mouth and sucked all the light out of the room. I woke up in the mop closet. Kevin was drawing stars on the inside of the door. Gribble was spooning a haunted teddy bear. And the mop? It was propped in the corner, glowing, gently snoring. Somehow it had put the sleeper back to sleep. Or maybe mopped her into a containment zone. I didn't ask. I opened the door and stepped back into the hallway. Every nap pod was sealed again. Each one hummed a lullaby I never wanted to hear again. The air felt heavier now, like the building remembered something. And outside the cracked window, the moon had a new mark. Not a bite this time, a fingerprint, and it was pushing back. Kevin stood beside me. She knows we're watching, he said. I didn't ask who she was. I just nodded and said, Okay. Then I handed him the string cheese crown. Next time, I muttered, we're doing snack time first. It started like any other night. The snack bell rang at 2 a.m. sharp right after group meditation, led by a floating goat named Clancy, who speaks only in riddles and farts. The kids lined up like sugar-craving goblins. Kevin carried a tray labeled, Do not open unless you like surprises. The mop had a juice box tucked under its bristles like it was casually enjoying a break. All was normal, until the snack cart didn't show up. Now, the snack cart at Monster Nightcare is not just a rolling tray of questionable fruit snacks and demon-safe cheese sticks. It's enchanted, carved from elderwood, blessed by 3 different cults, warded against nut allergies. It doesn't just disappear. Gribble arrived, sweating ink. It's gone. You sure? It didn't roll off into a pocket dimension again? I asked. He shook his head. No dimensional rift. No summoning backdoor. It's just gone. Kevin walked up holding a sticky note he found in the hallway. It read, We have claimed your snacks. G. Gribble went pale. No, he whispered. Not them. Not the sub-goblins. The sub-goblins live beneath Monster Nightcare, deep underground, past level B, through the mold corridor and beyond the diaper pit. Nobody talks about them because, well, we made a deal once. Gave them the old broken vending machine in exchange for peace. Apparently they want more. We held an emergency staff meeting in the broom closet. Me, Gribble, the mop, Kevin, uninvited, and Clancy the riddle goat, also uninvited, but he locked the door. We need to get the cart back before snack time ends, Gribble said, pacing. If these kids go into sugar withdrawal, the walls will bleed. Not metaphorically, I added. Like last time. The mop spun in a slow circle, then pointed toward the floor drain under the timeout chair. Of course. Goblin access point. Kevin clapped. Ooh! Field trip! Gribble glared. Absolutely not. You're grounded. Kevin pulled a backup crayon from his sock. Then I'll draw my way in. I sighed. Fine. He's coming. Clancy farted out what sounded like the words, "Take the goat." We did not. We descended through the floor grate using a ladder made of pool noodles and curses. The air got warm, then wet, then crunchy. We found the sub-goblin lair at the end of a glowing moss tunnel. The walls were decorated with stolen juice boxes and scribbled threats like, "We deserve snacks too, and fruit snacks are war." And there it was. The cart, covered in slime, hooked to some kind of ritual circle made out of Cheeto dust and fingernail clippings. Sub-goblins surrounded it, chanting in their weird clicking language and wearing juice box armor. One stepped forward, wearing a paper crown and a number 1 snack thief shirt. "I am Gurk," he announced. "This cart is ours now." Kevin whispered to me, "Can I make a counteroffer with a drawing?" "No." Gurk pointed at us with a candy cane scepter. "Leave or join the cheese stick pit." I was about to negotiate when the mop shoved its way to the front, glowing with righteous rage and faint apple juice. It smacked the floor twice. All the sub-goblins froze. Then they bowed. "Oh crap," I muttered. "They know it." Gurk dropped the scepter. "The legendary sweeper returns!" The mop spun once, glowing brighter. Kevin whispered, "This is better than cartoons." Gurk knelt before the mop. "We surrender the cart in exchange for mercy, and perhaps pudding." The mop nodded. Kevin tossed them a snack pack. Diplomacy. Achieved. Back upstairs, the cart rolled into the playroom on its own, spotless and fully restocked. The kids cheered. One started levitating with joy. Gribble clapped his hands. "Snack time resumes." Kevin unwrapped a gummy spider and looked up at the ceiling. "That was fun, but it's not over." "What do you mean?" He pointed at the moon. It had changed again. Now it looked like it was frowning. And in the shadow of its new crater, something moved. Something big. Kevin popped the gummy into his mouth and grinned. "She's sending someone." That night, after the kids passed out from snack comas and the mop curled up next to the fridge, I stared at the moon through the cracked window. The stars around it had gone out, and for the first time, I heard something breathing in my dreams. Not the moon. Something behind it. Something worse. It began with a knock. Not on the front door. No one ever uses the front door. This knock came from above. Gribble and I were reviewing juice inventory and making sure none of it was cursed this time, when the building shook. The ceiling tiles rattled. The haunted owl in the lobby blinked for the first time in a decade and said, "Oh no." I looked up. So did Kevin. So did the mop. The knock came again. Louder. Boom. 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 Then the ceiling cracked. A single glowing claw poked through, dripping stardust and moonlight. It carved a spiral into the roof. Something huge and angry was trying to come inside. Kevin squealed with joy. "She's here!" "Who?" I yelled. He held up a drawing. Red crayon again. It showed a massive creature with a baby bonnet, crater-sized eyes, and a bib that said Milky Way or bust. "She's called Moonlight," Kevin whispered. "She's the moon's baby." Gribble's pupils dilated to the shape of Saturn. "We have to evacuate the snacks." "Not the kids?" He looked me dead in the eye. "Snacks first. Kids if there's time." The ceiling collapsed. A piece of sky fell into the playroom. It wasn't made of stars. It was flesh. Moonlight emerged through the breach, giggling in slow motion. Like gravity itself had to process what was happening. She was massive, barely squeezing through reality, wearing clouds like diapers, her eyes swirling with moons within moons. She floated down and sniffed. Kevin waved. "Hi." Moonlight blinked. Then she opened her mouth. A gravitational pull rippled across the daycare. Toys flew upward. Juice boxes launched into orbit. I had to grab a table leg to stay grounded. Gribble screamed, "She's gonna sip the whole building!" Kevin clapped, "She's hungry." The mop rolled into the chaos, glowing neon blue. It stopped, spun once, and locked into position like it had done this before. Then, it extended. The handle telescoped 10 feet high, bristles splayed like a battle fan. It was ready. Gribble muttered, "The mop's going full Guardian protocol." The mop launched itself upward, smacking Moonlight square in the chin. It didn't hurt her. But she paused. She blinked. Then, she cried. Moonlight let out a planet-shaking wail that cracked the vending machine and knocked Kevin off his feet. Her tears splashed down in meteor-sized blobs, dissolving floor tiles and reality alike. That's when Kevin stepped forward, crayon in hand. "Let me fix it," he said. I grabbed his arm. "You drew her." He shrugged. "That's art, baby." Before I could stop him, he drew a giant pacifier in mid-air, a glowing red sketch floating like a 3D hologram. Then he whistled. Moonlight sniffled, saw it, and reached out. She took the drawing, sucked it into her mouth, and smiled. She began to shrink. Craters tucked in. The claws faded. Gravity normalized. Moonlight became manageable. A moon-sized baby became a kid-sized toddler. She floated gently down and curled up on the snack cart like it was a cradle, and fell asleep. Just like that. Kevin yawned. She just wanted attention. Gribble collapsed against the juice fridge. "I'm retiring, for real this time. I'll go back to haunting gas stations." The mop dropped to the ground and rolled over like it was passing out. I picked it up, dusted it off, and whispered, "You saved the universe with a mop." It didn't respond, but I swear it smirked. The next day, corporate sent a note. Due to recent events involving celestial visitors, Monster Nightcare is now under quarantine until further notice. Staff will be compensated with 1.5 times pay and eternal gratitude, pending review. I hung it next to the snack schedule. Moonlight still slept in the playroom. She glowed gently, rotating once every hour, humming lullabies in alien tones. Kevin was drawing again. A new creature. I didn't ask. I just poured coffee and stared at the cracked ceiling. Outside, the moon looked peaceful, healed, but not forgotten. There was still a mark on its surface. Not a bite, not a bruise. A handprint. From a mop. And below it, in crater letters only we could see, it read, "Nap time or else."